you've been holding out, it might be time to start warming to the idea of owning an OLED TV. This is our review of the 2020 65-inch LG C10 4K OLED TV. The C10, and it's hard not to say X, ships with a very solid and very heavy base. First, attach the front-facing panel to the base, then screw the base to the TV. And make sure you have a second person to help out. And here's why. Thanks to all that weight in the base, it's stable once in position, but be careful moving it from the top. It's thinner than an iPhone up there and very fragile. Isn't it a shame you can only do this once? And I went for the controversial two-handed vertical action to remove the screen protector, but man, is that so satisfying. Once set up, it passes the first test. Unlike Medusa, it looks good. WebOS is one of the best user interfaces you can find on a smart TV. And if you select Home, that's where you'll find all your inputs at one place, including the Internet of Things, like a dishwasher. Think of it like a home page for your TV, and it's nicely executed. From the menu, you can launch the App Store, and that's where you'll find the Fireplace app. That's just one of many that take advantage of OLED's stunning visuals. You can even turn your OLED into a fish tank. It's also smarter when it comes to pictures. The AI in this is pretty clever. I generally do my stuff manually, but what I've noticed is that out of the box, you pretty much eliminate all of that yucky soap opera effect that ruins films that are shot in 24p. So thanks to Tom Cruise for blowing up about that. Tom actually popped up while I was channel surfing and testing free-to-air quality. This upscaling of Star Trek Voyager on this SD channel was impressive, even in the dark scenes. Terrestrial HD news services look sharp, with graphics popping nicely in the lower thirds, which brings us to the touchy subject of burn-in. I have a 4-year-old LG OLED and have no issues at all with permanent image retention. I can't speak for others, of course, but that's my experience. Station logos and graphics can cause burn-in if the TV is left on. That's why LG has a section devoted to screen saving in the menu, including logo luminance adjustment. I'd advise checking it out. There wasn't any live sport on free-to-air channels while I was testing the TV, and it was limited to streaming service year C9, but inside, the C10 has LG's new Alpha 9 Gen 3 AI processor. It's faster and smarter. This is what it's supposed to do when the room goes from dark to bright. It lifts the image brightness in the shadows without blowing out the highlights, and this works really well. The self-lighting pixels produce amazing blacks. In this scene in Interstellar, Saturn and the spacecraft Endurance are lit brightly by the sun, leaving the rest of space evenly black. When exposing for star fields, OLEDs will show more because of its self-lit pixels. There's no bleeding into the dark areas and they look pinpoint sharp. But there will always be some blooming from the backlighting process. If you have an edge-lit TV, you're not even in the game. Here are some of LG's own examples. Given all that, I wanted to see how the C10 handles the most challenging of all dark scenes in the controversial Game of Thrones episode, The Long Night. First of all, don't even try watching this during the day if you can't make the room dark. Reflections will be your real enemy. Quick admission here, I actually haven't watched the series, but obviously followed the news about The Long Night and the creative decision to go dark, very dark. But the TV can only do so much, and the temptation for someone at home who's not an expert is to turn the brightness up, but by doing it you'll ruin the image. As you can see when I change the settings here, the TV will show more detail if there is some, but it will also produce artifacts, like the blocks in the shadows. This is something you usually see with low bitrate YouTube videos. When you get the settings right, the explosive changes from dark to light will look like this. Still, many people will think it's too dark overall. And really, with content like this, there's not much else you can do with it. This is pretty much as good as you'll get. LG continues to improve its near black performance on OLEDs. Pure black has never been a problem, but it's the immediate step up from black when the content is low bitrate where you might see some issues. The C10 is better than the C9 in this regard. But these are extreme examples we're talking about. If you buy a TV like this, the aim is to feed it a good rich meal in bits and detail. So that means a fast internet connection or Blu-ray player. Although the auto settings are usable, you will need to dig into your settings to find the best mix for your viewing environment. Try to avoid vivid. It will crush the blacks and blow the highlights. If you swing between ISF Bright Room and ISF Dark Room, with some tweaks, you'll be fine. But once you've nailed it, you'll be pretty happy with the results. When it comes to audio, I think you need a soundbar. The beautiful imagery deserves great sound, and although acceptable, I always kept thinking, I need a soundbar and a sub with this thing. It was a bit thin for my liking, and note, there's no onboard DTS decoding, unlike the C9. Gaming is simply outstanding on this panel, and it must be seen in person to appreciate it. LG is gunning hard for gamers, and the C10 is packed with mouth-watering features which reduce input lag. Variable refresh rate matches the output of your PC or gaming console in real time, which produces smooth experiences and eliminates tearing. There are 4 HDMI 2.1 ports that can handle 4K at 120 frames per second. When it comes to remotes, this is one of the best you can get, although it's still got a few more buttons that I'd like. I like a really simple remote, but they've added obviously Netflix, there's Amazon Prime Video as well. As a movie button, you can go straight down there and it searches all these movies. So that's a pretty cool feature. And that brings us to the final question. Should you upgrade? Well, the prices in 2020 are pretty good. For a new set like this, $4,500 is great value. That's because it's already dropped from its recommended retail price of 5,399 Aussie dollars. The closer that price gets to $4,000, the more attractive the C10 becomes. So if you can afford it, I say go for it.